Okay, this is Unit 3, Day 4. We're going to talk about graphing functions now. We're just going to introduce some of the graphs, and you may remember some shortcuts for graphing. Just kind of throw those out for now. Act like you don't know those. We're going to discover all the shortcuts. So a few of them you might remember, a few of them might be kind of foggy on, but we're going to try to refresh you on all of them. On this one, our learning targets, I can graph a function using a table of values, which we'll create our own. And I can identify the shape of a graph before graphing it. So hopefully by the end of it, we can identify, by looking at this, you can figure out what shape it'll be before you start graphing it. So first off, let's graph. We got 4 of these here we're going to graph, and we want to start off with a table of values. And there's no good way to be perfect on this, but you're just going to pick some numbers. And typically, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2 are pretty good numbers to choose. There might be certain situations where you want to pick different numbers. We'll talk about that when we get there, but for right now, these are good numbers to choose if you just don't know what to choose. Okay, and we want to pick 5 points, so those are 5 good ones. So we're going to plug in -2 in here, and we're going to find the range given this domain. So if I plug in -2, -2 times 3 is -6, minus 4 would be -10. If I plug in -1, -1 times 3 is -3, minus 4 is -7. If I plug in a 0, that'd be -4. And kind of what's the pattern going on here? Looks like we're going down by 3 every time. Okay, let's plug in 1. 1 times 3 is 3, minus 4 is -1. Yep, that's 3 less. 3 less. So 3 less than, actually I'm sorry, we're adding 3. We're going up by 3 every time. I said we're taking away 3. We're adding 3 every time, so I bet the next one's going to be 2. Now if I plug 2 in, 2 times 3 is 6, 6 minus 4 is 2. So it was following that pattern. If I quickly plot these points, for -2, -10, that's off the graph because this only goes up to 3, 4, 5, 6. It only goes up to -7 down here. So that first point, I can't graph it. It's just off. -1, -7. 0, -4, 1, -1, and then 2, 2. And notice we got a straight line going on here. Okay, they line up perfectly. And if you've got pencil and paper, let's try to be as straight as we can. If it's a worksheet now on Math Excel, it'll do some of this for you. It's going to draw you a straight line for you as long as you pick that. But so there would be the graph. Now, what shape is this? Well, it's a line, and it's one that is increasing. And we decide that from left to right. So from left to right, this is going up, 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 up. So it's an increasing graph. As x goes up, y goes up. It goes up with it. Okay, over here, let's do the same thing. I'm going to go a little bit faster here. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Start plugging these numbers in. If I plug in -2, that'd be a -2 times -2 is actually a +4, and 1 plus 4 would be 5. Plug in -1, you get 3. Plug in 0, you get 1. Plug in 1, get -1. Plug in 2, -3. Notice these are going down by 2. Okay, so 5 down 2 is 3, down 2, down 2, down 2. That's consistent. Okay, it's going down by the same thing every time. So if I plot these guys, see -2, 5, -1, 3, 0, 1, 1, -1, and then 2, -3. And again, connect these points. They're making a straight line again. Okay, so this is a line, but it is decreasing. So from left to right, it's decreasing. Okay. Next one here. This next guy, we're going to, if you notice, this has a 1/2 out front. So think, what kind of numbers are really easy to multiply by a half? Well, even numbers are easy to cut in half. Odd numbers are not. So I would avoid odd numbers. So instead of doing -2, -1, 0, and so on, we'll start with 0, -2, -4, 4. Well, I'll only pick numbers because those are easier to divide by 2 because I'm going to multiply by half. So this half of -4 is -2, and then -1, 0, 1, and 2. When I take half of all those numbers, -4, negative 2, negative 2, negative 1, 0, wait a second here, negative 4, negative 2, I messed up, 0, 0, 2, wait a second, I know why I'm messing up. Okay, so don't mess up on the video. 1, 2, 3, 4, down 2, down over 2, down 1, so you can throw these out too. I may even just fix this. Be careful, I forgot that I did by 2s. That makes me feel a little bit better. So I went by 2s instead of 1s, and that's what messed me up. 2, 1, and then 4, 2. Okay, so connect these. Going like that. Notice it is still a line, and it is increasing. If I put these guys here, every time this went up by 2, that went up by 1. So it's a 2 to 1 or a 1 to 2 ratio, 1 to 2 ratio. Up here, this was a up 3, up 1, so a 3 to 1 ratio, and so on. So it's kind of leading us into something else we're going to do. Over here, when I'm picking my x values, at some point you have to divide by 3. So if you're going to double it and then divide by 3, well, numbers that are easily divided by 3 are multiples of 3. So I'll start with 0, and then negative 3, negative 6, and then 3 and 6. So use multiples of 3 because there's a 3 on bottom. That's going to make it a lot easier to calculate these guys. Okay, so if I plug in a negative 6 up here, negative 6 divided by 3 would be negative 2, times 2 would be negative 4. Negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. Okay, plug in negative 3, you get negative 3. Plug in 0, you get negative 1, and then 1 and 3. So again, you'll have to do that yourself. I'm going kind of fast, but if I plug those numbers in, you can use a calculator if you want, you'll get those table of values. Let's go negative 6. See if I do it right this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 3, negative 3. 0, negative 1. 3, 1. 6, 3. Notice they're lining up perfectly again. They're making a straight line. Okay, and this one, again, is a line increasing. Okay, so it's a line increasing. Notice we chose negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2 as the x values for problem 1 and 2, but for 3 and 4 we chose different x values since they had fractions. Okay, being multiplied into the variable. To get clean numbers, we choose multiples of the denominator. So I think that might be an E. All 4 of these problems made the graph, the shape made a line. Okay, so kind of want to think about what they all have in common. Okay, and then when we flip it over, we're going to have something else to look at. Okay, so on the back side, I've got absolute values here. So absolute value, probably going to be a different shape because it's not the same as the front. So let's make a t-table out of this. Okay, we're going to do, we can start with negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. I just may have to go further to really see the shape on this one, and that'll help reveal what we're looking for. So if I plug in negative 2, negative 2 plus 2 is 0, the absolute value is 0. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1, absolute value of that is 1, 2, 3, 4. But I do want to go a little bit further back though. I'm going to do negative 3 and negative 4 just to show you what's going on here so we can see, we can answer this question, what shape. Because if I just put these in here, see, negative 2, 0, negative 1, 1, 0, 2, 1, 3. It makes this, and it looks like it's another line. But if I plug in negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1, the absolute value is 1. I can't get negatives here. I can't get negative y values because your absolute value at the end can't happen. So I'm not going to continue down the negative. It's actually going to bounce back. So negative 3, 1. This negative 4 plus 2 is negative 3. The absolute value is 2. that bounces back, makes kind of a V shape, and it's going to continue in that direction. So it makes a V shape here. So V shape. So what shape? V shape. Okay. This guy over here, and we'll do a t-table. I'll start out with -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. We'll see if it's enough. If I need to keep going with it, I'll keep going with it. But when I plug those numbers in, I get -1, 1, 3, 1, and -1. Okay, keep in mind, when you plug these numbers in, you're going to double it, take the absolute value. So when I plug in -2, I double that and get -4. The absolute value of -4 is 4. I'm going to take the opposite of that. So we're back to negative again. -4 plus 3 is -1. That's where we're getting at. So make sure you put all those in there correctly. So -2, -1, -1, 1, 0, 3, 1, 1, and 2, -1. Okay, so notice what shape it's making again here. Okay, so it's going to continue in this direction, continue in this direction. It's making another V shape. So it looks like if it has an absolute value in it, it's a V shape. The ones in the front did not have an absolute value in it. They didn't make a V shape. Okay, so we're going to keep that in mind here. Okay. Here I got some squareds. That's different. So no absolute value. Now I have squareds. How's that going to affect the shape of it? So if I make a t-table here, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, plug it in. So -2 squared is 4. Take the opposite of that. -4 plus 5 is 1. Plug in -1. Remember, it's 1 times -1 is 1, but then take the opposite of that. So we're back to -1 plus 5 is 4. If I plug in 0, that'd be a 5, and then it's 4 and 1 as you're plugging them in. So when I plot these points, I got -2, 1, -1, 4. Notice that went up by 3 over 1, but now the next point, 0, 5, it's only up 1 over 1. It's not a line anymore, so that's not straight. Okay, we're kind of turning a little bit. It's not just a straight line. 1, 4 is here. Whoa, now we're really turning. We're turning all the way back. And then 2, 1 is down here. So it's not like these are straight V shapes. Whoops, up here. These are straight V shapes. These are curving. It's not from here to here. That point's not in line. So it's not that it's a straight V shape. It's actually curving back around and coming down. Okay. What shape is that? It's upside down, but it is a U shape. I'll put a tail on it so we can tell the difference between U and V. So it's a U shape. And this one is flipped. Flipped over. I should have mentioned this one up here. This one's flipped too. That one's flipped over. This guy here, we're going to do the same idea. Again, since I have a 1/2 in here, even numbers are going to be a lot easier. If I square odd numbers, I get odd numbers. If I square even numbers, I get even numbers. So I want even numbers to take half of. So this one would probably be best to do -4, -2, 0, 2, and 4 instead of doing -2, -1, because we want to avoid those odd numbers. So -4 squared, that's the same thing as -4 times -4, which is 16. Half of that is 8. 8 minus 4 would be 4. And plugging these in, kind of speeding things up a little bit for us so we can quickly see this. When I plug this in, I'll go -4. I lost my lights. Okay. So -4, 4. So -4, 4. -2, -2, 0, -4. So notice, not a straight line again. Those don't line up straight, they're actually curving. And then the next one, 2, -2, that's actually turning back up. Okay, and then 4, 4. So it makes a U shape here, makes a U shape. And this one's not flipped, it's straight up and down. Okay, so on problems 5 and 6, we had a V shape, because they had absolute values around the variable. So if there's an absolute value, it's going to make a V. 7 and 8, we had a U shape. Notice that the variable was squared. So we can start telling now, or any other exponent will give the graph a different shape too. So if it's a cube and then a fourth power, that gives it even a new shape every time, but we don't talk about that in this class. So the V shapes, those are flipped upside down. Notice the ones that flipped had a negative out front. So these guys were flipped, they had negatives. So the upside down, they're upside down when the coefficient is negative. So I can quickly look at this. I don't need to graph it, I don't make a t-table, I can tell pretty quick. This one is like the ones in the front. It's just x. That makes a line. And the variable up front is positive, so it's going to be increasing. Okay, if the variable up front was negative, it would be decreasing. This one here, I've got a squared, that's a U shape. I got a negative in front of it, it's going to be flipped over, so it's going to be a U shape flipped. Okay, here I got an absolute value, no negative out front, so it's going to be a V shape. Oops, shape. And the last one, just an X, so it's going to be a line, but it has a negative out front, so it's going to be a line decreasing. Okay? So I know the video is getting kind of long here, but that was a lot to get through, and most of it was just plugging numbers in. It's going to take most of the work, but just do that correctly, and hopefully what we want you to be able to do, even when you get into Algebra 2, if you take Algebra 2, is you don't have to do a table. You can actually graph this without, there's some shortcuts to it. So we want to help you realize those shortcuts by the time you get there.